Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another concert review. This is my second attempt doing this, as the first time I got 5 minutes in, and my uh, storage locked up on me. So I'd moved some videos around, and we'll see if this second time will work. This is a review for seeing Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs. Now, if you don't know Mike Campbell, he is the lead guitarist of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, a group that I unfortunately never got to see live, which I still regret to this day. But this was the closest thing that I was going to get. I saw that the tickets went on sale a few months ago, and I said, I've got to get it. So I went with my mom, who is a lifelong Petty fan. She never got to see Petty either. So this was the closest that we were both going to get to seeing Tom Petty. Now, Mike Campbell's sound is a little bit more garage rock based than the Heartbreakers. The Heartbreakers are a little bit more polished, a little bit more jangly. Mike Campbell pulls directly from groups like the Kinks, the Animals, kind of a grittier garage rock sound. So, yeah, that is kind of in a nutshell what the Dirty Knobs sound like. But Mike and the boys have released 2 albums. The first was from 2020 called Reckless Abandon. They did several songs from this album and just knocked it out of the park. I should also say, first of all, Mike Campbell and the Knobs were playing at the Jefferson Theater in Charlottesville, Virginia, which is about 2 hours northeast of me. And it's a little venue. It holds about 700 people. I got to see the Zombies there with my mom and one of my sisters back in 2014. Fantastic show. So this is my first time returning after 9 years of attending that venue for an event. But from Reckless Abandon, this is a great album, again, from 2020. The artwork is by Klaus Vormann, who did Revolver by the Beatles. You have songs, the songs that they did on here, the first song, the title track, Reckless Abandon, which is kind of a jangly, birdsy Tom Petty song, which is the first song that we got, really, that was Petty-esque after Tom Petty passed away in 2017. But they did Reckless Abandon, Sugar, which has kind of become one of their bigger live songs. I Still Love You, which is like this bluesy, kind of like heavy song. Very similar to a lot of the songs that are on the Mojo album by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers from 2010. Really, really good. Mike Campbell said that that's one of those songs that when he plays it live, it's an emotional experience for him. You can tell he's got a lot of that grit, a lot of that yearning in his voice when he sings. Very, very cool. They sang the song, let's see, F That Guy, which is one of their audience participation songs. Of course, they say the actual word. I'm not going to say it on this channel. But it was co-written by Chris Stapleton. Kind of a funny little song. The video for it's very funny. It's kind of showing like he's saying F that guy, but the guy that is walking around in the video looks like the COVID virus. Like he's got like this big head that looks like the COVID, molecule. But it was kind of cool video. Don't Knock the Boogie, which is like a very, doonga 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 doonga. It's very, it's a boogie. So very 50s, early 60s, Little Richard kind of song. Anna Lee, which is a beautiful ballad off of this album. He pulled up this harmonica solo that just sounded so good. It was very Dylan-esque, just beautiful. My mom is not as familiar with the Dirty Knobs as I am, and so, but that was one of the songs I know that really spoke to her. She was really getting into that. When that harmonica came out, it was just like, oh my word, that's just beautiful. Then they did the song, well, that was the last song that they did off of Reckless Abandon. Then let's move to External Combustion, which was their latest album. They did announce that they do have another album coming out in the spring of next year, so I'm looking forward to that. I will definitely be getting that. But, and you can see there are Mike and the guys. Although the only 2 guys from this album that were playing were these guys. Matt Laug just played with AC/DC at the Power Trip Festival, and Jason Sine is no longer with the band, nor is Matt. At this point, he has left the band as well. So it's just Lance Morrison and Mike Campbell. But I will get to the other members of the Knobs in just a minute. So they did the title track, External Combustion. Really, really cool. Wicked Mind, which is a very fast-paced, right to the wall rock and roll song. Just awesome, awesome, awesome. Just in your face rock and roll. External Combustion, they did Dirty Job, which on this album they did as a duet with Ian Hunter from Mott the Hoople. The guitarist, the new guitarist, other than Mike, his name is Chris Holt. He sang the Ian Hunter stuff and sounded fantastic. Really, really good. They did Lightning Boogie, another boogie off of this album, which is great. You've got the drums hitting the rim of the snare, that, and then just again fast paced boogie kind of song. Rat City, which is again a heavy garage rock song that bow down, bow down, bow down, bow down, bow down, bow, bow. It's really, really, really good. Then they did the song Electric Gypsy from this album. I think they did Electric Gypsy. Maybe not. They might not have done that one. I can't remember. But anyway, they did a bunch of songs from the 2 Dirty Knobs albums. Really, really, really good to hear those songs live by Mike Campbell. Now, his voice is a lot like Tom Petty's. It's got a snarl. It's got a nasal feel to it. It's got a growl. He's from Gainesville, Florida, just like Tom Petty, or from that area. They were in the group Mudcrutch together before the Heartbreakers. So he's the closest thing that I'm going to get to seeing Tom Petty. Just, there's no way around it. He's the closest thing that I'm going to get. Now, let's jump into some of the covers that they did. Campbell is just so cool. He's the coolest guy. He was in a top hat and like hippie glasses, scarves, just the whole 9 yards, exactly the way you wanted him to be. He a couple times he's like, this is the time. He's like, this is the part where I kind of screw with the band and play something that they didn't know I was going to play. And then he played stuff like he did Little Queenie by Chuck Berry. He kind of went into the song Who Do You Love, the old bluesy kind of song, the Who Do You Love, just old rockabilly song. They did that one a lot. He didn't play the Rickenbacker for a long time, which is what he's famous for with the Heartbreakers. So it was just he played this Gibson right here for a lot of the show. But he did do some Tom Petty tracks, and he did the first Tom Petty track that he pulled out was Fault Lines, which he's like, this is a song that I can play really well now. He's like, this is from the last Heartbreakers album, blah, blah, blah. They play it pretty much straight up like the record, really bluesy, kind of a fuzzy kind of guitar tone to it. If you know that album, Hypnotic Eye, you'll know kind of the sound that comes from it. Although that song predates Hypnotic Eye a little bit, I believe. They also did a very slowed down version of Refugee from Dan the Torpedoes. Really, really emotional, just slow paced. At one point, they did kind of break into the actual tempo of the song, and then they jumped back into the slower version. But Campbell, at one point during that song, he unplugged the guitar and kind of walked along the front of the stage and was like pumping his guitar up like this, like having the audience sing, don't have to live like a refugee. But we were doing it much slower than that. But he was just, you could tell there's a lot of emotion there. And when he went back to the microphone, he's like, we always get the audience to do that song. He's like, but there was something about you guys that, he's like, y'all were really feeling it tonight. And they kept mentioning how good the room sounded too, which, I mean, I know they probably say that a ton of different places, but you kind of believe that they meant it last night, that it was just, a good room to be listening to be playing music in. I mean, it holds about 700 people, standing room on the floor, and then 2 balconies. Mom and I were on the first balcony, front row, almost exactly where we sat for the Zombies 9 years earlier. But they did the song Don't Fade on Me from Wildflowers. He played that drop D tuning on the acoustic guitar. Beautiful song, just, like that. Don't fade on me. No. Oh, it's just so good to hear him do that song. Such a great song. Then they did the song Rockin' Around With You from the very first Tom Petty album. It's the very first track. I know the Heartbreakers played it on their last tour. They had brought it out for the first time, I think, since the 70s. Just an awesome, simple little rock and roll song, and I can't stop thinking about how I dig it, rocking around with you. Just, oh, it's so good to hear that. But one thing I haven't said yet, the drummer of the Dirty Knobs last night was none other than Mr. Steve Ferrone, who was a Heartbreaker from the Wildflowers era right up until the very last show in 2017. So I got to see 2 Heartbreakers, and that was just unbelievable. Steve Ferrone could lock it in with his drumming. He was originally a member of the Average White Band. He's been a session guy for a ton of people. During the band introductions, Mike introduced Lance Morrison, the bass player, and Chris Holt, the guitarist. And he also introduced Ferrone. And then Ferrone comes out from behind the kit, and he talks for about 4 minutes about Mike. And he's essentially saying, he's like, he's like, I toured with this guy named George Harrison about 30 plus years ago. And he was touring with a guy named Eric Clapton, which of course, we have the Live in Tokyo album by George Harrison and Eric Clapton, which came out as a document. And he said one night Clapton couldn't make it, so Mike Campbell sits in. So he first met Mike in 1991 with George Harrison playing at the Royal Albert Hall in London. And he was just the nicest guy, kind, talking about Mike, the Heartbreakers, and how he was, saying he would not want to be anywhere else than playing music with Mike Campbell. And that was pretty special to see those two guys together. Just really, really, really cool to see two Heartbreakers together. And so, the show ended for the set. People are standing up, clapping for the encore. Then they come out for the encore. And they start breaking into the Byrds version of Mr. Tambourine Man. Unbelievable. To hear that Rickenbacker, to hear that jangle of that guitar was just unmatched. I was in heaven hearing it. Then they start playing. Mike starts talking, and all of a sudden his wife walks out on stage and taps him on the shoulder as he's talking. He's looking back. She's tapping him on the shoulder. He looks back. Then she leans into the microphone and she says, "It's just the normal noises in here." Which, if you know the album Damn the Torpedoes, you hear his wife's voice on a little hidden track just before the song Even the Losers. So she's there. She comes out. She does that little bit, but she does a lot, I know. But to hear it, you know exactly what's coming next. It's Even the Losers. And he breaks into it, and it is awesome. To hear him sing, "It was nearly the summer, we sat on your roof. Yeah, we smoked cigarettes and we stared at the moon. Well, I showed you stars that you never could see. It couldn't have been that easy to forget about me," was just unbelievable to me. To hear that solo, to hear the harmonies, to hear him say, "Even the losers get lucky sometimes." Oh, it was just so good. And then from that, they finish. He's still got the Rickenbacker. So he's 3 for 3 now on the encore with the Rickenbacker. All of a sudden he breaks into bow bow now 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 bow now 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 now. He starts singing "Listen to Her Heart," and I was just like, oh, this is so good. This is exactly what I wanted to hear tonight. That's what I wanted to hear. And to hear that double harmony of, you think you're going to take her away with your money and your cocaine. You keep thinking that her mind is going to change. But I know everything is okay. She's going to listen to her heart. It's going to tell her what to do. She might need a lot of loving, but she don't need you. And then for him to break into that guitar solo, that bow down 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 down, and then bow 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 to end it. Oh, it's just so good. I'm like, oh, what is he going to end with? And I've been avoiding watching set lists, but I know that one of his go-to finishes is "Running Down a Dream," so I was fully expecting "Running Down a Dream." I saw his roadie, his name is Chinner, was off to the side. He got the guitar out that he plays on "Running Down a Dream," and I'm like, okay, we're going to get "Running Down a Dream." This is awesome. Campbell looks over to Chinner and he's like, kind of like, I'm not going to play that guitar. He goes over to all the guys and he is whispering in their ear. I told my mom, she's standing next to me. We're standing up at this point. I'm like, they're changing it. I'm like, he's doing something. Like, what are they doing? And all of a sudden you see Ferrone counting it off on the drums, that toom, bop, 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 bop. And then you hear bow, 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 bop, bow, bow. You hear "You Wreck Me" from Wildflowers. And we were both like, this is it right here. This is so cool. This is awesome. So he starts playing "You Wreck Me," and it was just perfect. It was the perfect ending to the perfect, experience to see Mike Campbell. It was so cool. He was just the coolest guy, the coolest dude. I think it was a sold out show, close to it. My mom and I were just, over the moon watching it. I was so happy to be there with her to experience that together. We got to see Mike Campbell, and that's the closest that I'll ever get to seeing Tom Petty. I've been rewatching the clips that I've filmed, and it was just so perfect. I did buy a cool poster here. Look how cool that is. They did have a signed one from the Four Guys, but it was $100, and I was like, I don't need their signature for $100. I don't. And I did buy this a couple weeks ago. It's a guitar slide, kind of a ceramic guitar slide with Mike on there. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Thanks for indulging me. This is a little bit long, but this is me talking about Tom Petty and Mike Campbell, and it's the closest that I'm ever going to get to seeing Tom Petty. I'm glad my mom got to go. It was a great evening, watching that fantastic band play those great songs. Let me know if you've seen them before. Let me know if you've heard these two albums. They're fantastic. If you like Tom Petty, if you like garage rock, get these records. They're fantastic. You can get them very cheap. And yeah, there we go, folks. Y'all be good. Take care. Subscribe. I'm almost at 950 subscribers. Let me push to 1,000 to end the year. That would be wonderful. And thank you, Mike Campbell, for being the coolest dude living on the planet. All right, y'all be good. Take care. And we'll talk to you in the next one. Bye now.